League Cup final, Manchester City over Arsenal. We need to dive in the masterclass that we just witnessed with Pep Guardiola over Mikel Arteta. Manchester City had an absolute phenomenal plan going into this match. And yes, you could argue that Arteta had his own plans. But if you're thinking about this, it is kind of questionable for Mikel Arteta making some of the decisions that he did make today. Now, obviously, the big talking point is Kepa. Starting Kepa in this match seems like a no-brainer that you would not start him. You have David Raya, who's been arguably the best goalkeeper in the entire league, and yet for some reason, even though Kepa's been the League Cup goalkeeper going into this, you would think you would use Raya to make sure you get your team over the line. We've seen Kepa. I'm a Chelsea fan. We've seen him countless times make critical errors, not just in cup finals, but just throughout his entire career. And it seems like this is something that happens time and time again. And this was one of the big errors. It clearly led to the first goal that Manchester City scored. And after that, it was very difficult for City to even get in this game. Now, you can also look at this from one standpoint that Pep Guardiola understood what he needed to do. By looking at this video right now, you are seeing how they were setting up. They were allowing Arsenal to play from the back. They did not put any high press on them. And from this standpoint, Arsenal had no idea how to actually play the ball from the back. Time and time again, Kepa would have the ball, hold on to it for a while, and then just boot it up as high as he possibly could, which, as we know, City are very good aerial-wise, and this made it very difficult. At one point in the second half, too, Arsenal barely had any progressive passes. I believe the stat was something until the 71st minute for 10 yards plus, and that by itself is absolutely ridiculous as well because typically Arsenal are trying to slow the games down and play the ball around, but they're also looking at teams that press up on them because when teams press up, that creates pockets of space, then they can exploit that and play the balls into those channels. The problem is that Pep knew this. Pep literally sat back and knew that times they were going to have the ball and that they could attack them. And when that did happen, they clearly took their chances because once Arsenal went down a goal and then later on two goals, it made it very, very difficult for them to do anything that they were doing prior to that. And this is Arsenal we're talking about because when you sit back 10 men behind the ball, you cannot score and then dominate the game when things like that happen. You then have to come out of your shell. And what we saw in this match is that Arteta didn't have a clear plan for an option B if their team were to go down because after they did go down, this is where, like we said, City just knew exactly what to do. They killed the game off, but they also didn't play into any of Arteta's plans. They sat back and, like I said, waited for them to make anything. And clearly, the Arsenal players had no idea what to do. And this now gives a blueprint for other teams going against Arsenal. Not so much in the Premier League because it does seem like that by itself is pretty much done, but yet it is still not done because there are so many matches left that could happen. City still have to play Arsenal, which clearly we just witnessed today. City can still beat Arsenal. They now have to play in the FA Cup yet in the quarterfinal. They also have the Champions League. All these matches now just demonstrated what you can do against Arsenal. And like I said, in those cup games, the FA Cup, Champions League, those teams can sit back. It's not like they have to go and win those games right off the bat. If they do sit back and allow Arsenal to almost play from the back again, this could be very this could be very difficult for Arsenal because if they cannot do what they've been doing all season long and only rely on certain things, Arteta is going to have a problem. And the thing about this is that they continue to have the problem. This can really mess up the mentality of this club because, like you just said, they actually haven't won the Premier League yet. So many things could happen. This loss now could be a massive blow to the mentality of these players. If they get knocked out, say the FA Cup, the Champions League, before lifting a trophy, that itself could also be a massive blow. Now, granted, I understand the Champions League is after the Premier League, so therefore, again, if they win the Premier League, that could still help in there. But still, this now puts a lot of question marks onto Arsenal, and this clearly gives evidence that City now may have the ability to keep going and somehow win this out for the rest of the season. There's so many games left, like we just said earlier, and like I said, they have a game in hand. They have to play Arsenal. Arsenal have a few games where they could draw points. This is making it clearly wide open. And like I said, this all comes down to the tactics Arteta did in this match. You would think, like I said earlier, the first final he's been in over 5+ years, you would think you would go with probably your strongest starting 11, maybe it's minus one or two players, but you would think you would start your goalkeeper, who's been clearly the best guy in the entire league. But hey, it is what it is. The game obviously went the way it was. Pep obviously got big momentum for this. It's another trophy for him. He went, what, 18 months, 22 months, something along those lines, before winning another trophy. You saw what this meant for him. We would have seen what this meant for Arteta had he have won it. But like I said, they're now going to have to wait for another final, if not the Premier League. And who knows what, like I said, could happen in the rest of this season. So I want to know what you guys think about the League Cup final, what City did to Arsenal. Was this a masterclass by Pep, or did Arteta not play the right players in this game? Comment down below. I'll get to those as quickly as possible. Hit the like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed this content, and I will see you in the next video.